Hey guys, George at SoundTraxx here, and with all the excitement surrounding the resurrection of the big boy locomotive, we're going to play with our Tsunami2 decoder today and let you know how you can make your Tsunami2 sound just like the big boy that's running today. Now, as we all know, we have billions of choices in our Tsunami2 sound decoder that we can make it match any locomotive that's out there. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a few CVs here and we're going to make this locomotive sound just like as if it were a big boy. So we're going to go ahead and unmute it first. Now the first thing obviously is the whistle. Now on the Tsunami2 we have 90 different whistles to choose from. Now the one we're looking for is the Hancock Step Top 3 chime. And if I look at my list that you can find at our website at SoundTraxx.com, we'll see that the Hancock Step Top 3 chime is whistle number 25. So first, the default whistle, or whistle 0, has that Santa Fe style. Now I'm going to take CV120, I'm going to change it to a value of 25, and now you can see that we've got that Hancock Step Top 3 chime. Now there are a couple other choices here that you can choose from. There is the Hancock Flat Top 3 chime recorded off the 4018. So we're going to go ahead and set CV120 to a value of 26. Or there is the Hancock 3 chime Union Pacific number 3985, which is whistle number 53. So you have a few different choices in there. Personally, I like that Hancock Step Top 3 chime. So we're going to take CV120, we're going to set it back to 25. And that's going to give us that Hancock Step Top sound. Now the next thing you want to do is select the bell. Now on this model I had already picked a heavy brass with a fairly slow ring rate. Now we're going to go through this list and we're going to select the Air-Rung heavy brass bell, bell number 25 through 26. So we're simply going to program on the main, CV122 to a value of 25, and you can hear how that bell has changed. But we all know that that's an Air-Rung bell, so let's go a little faster on that. So we're going to take CV122, set it to a value of 26. That sounds more like the bell that's on the big boy. So the next thing we want to do is select the exhaust. And the exhaust chuff now is actually one of the light exhaust chuffs. So we'll start to move the locomotive forward. You can hear it. And you can kind of hear how that's a fairly light exhaust chuff. But we're going to go ahead and change that. So we're going to take CV123 and we're going to set this to a value of 7 for the heavy exhaust number 2. Now when I change direction and I start to run the locomotive, you can kind of hear how that exhaust chuff tone has changed. When I put some resistance on it, you can really hear that exhaust chuff bark. I think that's a pretty good representation of that big boy locomotive. So next up, we're going to select the air compressor and the dynamo. Now the air compressor, we go to our list. Right now we're using a standard cross compound, and you can hear that running in the background. But now we're going to go ahead and change that, and we're going to select the dual cross compound, and that's going to be air compressor number 8. So we're going to take CV124 and set it to a value of 8. And now you can hear 2 compressors, and you're going to hear that exhaust as it's ported through the exhaust stack. So now it's not really the loud lungering compressor that you heard before. It's more of a streamline, and you're hearing more of the venting out of the exhaust stack. So the last thing we're going to select here in this case is going to be the dynamo. Now on that locomotive there's a lot of electrical appliances that are running, and so therefore we have a double dynamo on there. So looking at our list again, CV125, we're going to select a double dynamo, and that's going to be a value of 6. So setting 125 to 6, you'll instantly hear the change, and you're going to hear the spool up of 2 dynamos. So the last thing we want to select is in CV112. Now this gives us many different choices to finalize that profile to match the locomotive. Now this is where we can select the type of fuel that's being used, whether it's a wood burner, hand shoveled coal, auger fed coal, or an oil burner with an atomizer. You can also select a power reverse or a manual Johnson bar, a lifting or a non-lifting type injector, and we can adjust the chuff cadence to match that of the locomotive. So when we look at CV112, we can see that a value of 2 is going to start for the oil burner. The next up we're going to select is the non-lifting injector, which is on by default, so we move on to the next one. The power reverse, worth a value of 8, we're going to enable. Now the next one up is a 3-cylinder, and since this is an articulated, we're going to ignore that. Now the next 2 bits are going to determine the wheel slip. And the wheel slip on this one, we're going to do a slow wheel slip. And wheel slip in this case is defined to the sets of the 2 drivers of the articulated locomotive going in and out of sync with each other. So we're going to add in 32, and that's going to give us a cumulative value right now of 42. Now the last one is articulated exhaust, and we do want to enable that, and that's going to be worth a value of 128. So this gives us a value of 170 for the final CV value in CV112. So I'm going to take CV112 and I'm going to set this to 170. Now I'm going to turn off the dynamo because now you can hear that atomizer running in the background all the time. Now when we run the locomotive, we're going to go ahead and push this back a little bit. Now we're going to run it forward so that way you can hear the articulated exhaust. We'll put some pressure so that way you can hear the dynamic digital exhaust taking over. We're going to cut the throttle and you can hear that exhaust back off. You can hear more of the rod clank as the locomotive coasts to a stop. Now with all these settings we've set, this is just a way that we can take the Tsunami2 and match the 4014 and other big boys in the class. Now what we have not done is taken advantage of all of the features such as the dynamic exhaust and how to set it up, adjusting volume levels, setting the brakes, and so forth. Refer to other videos on our YouTube channel for that information, or refer to the user's guide at SoundTraxx.com. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to play with the settings and see what you like. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us at SoundTraxx.com or at support@SoundTraxx.com.